Welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. Brought to you by Blue Sky Business Consulting. We discuss 5 questions in about 15 minutes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. I'm very excited to welcome our guest today. He's got some great leadership experience, and I'm excited to hear his insights. This is Andy Crocker. He's from Huntsville, Alabama, and he is an aerospace expert of all kinds. And so he has recently started his own business and has published a book. And so, Andy, I'm excited to hear more about that. Take just a little bit and share a little bit more with the audience about the projects that you're working on.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate it. I'm honored to be on the podcast. Love having these conversations. So yeah, I've been an aerospace executive for 30 years, always working in the space part of the business. So some defense space, but a lot of civil, which means NASA space, and then also commercial space over the last 10 years. So that's been my career. I've had the opportunity to work on great projects, really fun projects from things that are classified to things that are just really fun to talk about, like going to the moon with crew again, finally. So those have always been fun. And then publishing this book. The book has a number of stories from my career and just, personal life and things like that I feel like tie together a lot of the things that I've learned.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Well, it sounds like a great book. And what's the name of it again? One more time?
Yeah, it's called The Unconditionals. It's about the 5 values that I think really help us to become more fulfilled and live better lives.
Oh, I like that. That's great. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started with our questions. Now, Andy, sometimes it happens that people and employees, teams, companies, all these kinds of things, they sometimes kind of fall into a lull a little bit as far as their energy is concerned. How can leaders help to infuse energy into a team?
Yeah, I in the book, The Unconditionals, one of the things I really try to do is point out practical lessons for different phases of life, and one of them is just for leaders. And these 5 values I think are really critical to leaders, and in particular as it applies to teams and teams that are in these kind of lull times. The values that I think really are important are gratitude and endeavor, and I'll talk about both of those. So gratitude really applies when a team is in a lull, because sometimes that means that the team isn't feeling valued. The team members are, getting a little bit worn out, and they just need to be reminded of the value that the leaders have for them. No matter what our metrics are, or even how our team is performing, we need to show appreciation for the team members, genuine, small appreciation that just fuels morale. So we need to, make time regularly, especially during these times that are kind of feel like we're in a lull, to reward team members or show appreciation for attitude, for effort, for dedication. And then on endeavor, that endeavor is about doing things. And obviously with team efforts, it's teamwork, team endeavor. And so sometimes we take those lulls and reframe them as opportunities. And we want to talk, openly and talk often, remind them, hey, this is our vision. This is our mission. Here's what we're trying to achieve. Here's what obstacles we may face, or maybe we are facing currently. And then how we're going to grow from those obstacles or those challenges. And then we celebrate progress, whatever that progress is. It's not celebrating perfection, it's celebrating progress. So I think that combination of recognizing contributions and then re-energizing the effort with reminding folks what the vision is and how we're going to get through the difficulties will help us to get through the lulls.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great information. So gratitude and endeavoring. I like that. Great combination. All right. Question number 2. How can leaders promote learning in their company or their team?
Well, I think there are at least two types of learning in corporate environments: direct and indirect. And direct, obviously, is education, it's certifications, it's training. Indirect is the on the job learning, right? And so many teams say that they value on the job learning, but really they emphasize performance. They want flawless performance, and sometimes that can discourage risk taking and discourage learning, frankly. So again, kind of pointing to some key values there. I think, again, talking about endeavor, but also talking about accountability and how those shape the learning culture. So, um, focusing on accountability, we've got to own our outcomes. As leaders, we own our outcomes, whether they're successes or failures. If they're successes, um, we share that success with the team. The whole team succeeds. If we fail, we as leaders have to take the blame ourselves. The buck stops with us, right? But um, but that is part of learning and giving um, accountability to our team which I think we'll talk about more, will also help the learning. And then again, on unconditional endeavor, I think endeavor is really about prioritizing growth. And that's really what learning is about. It's about everything that we do should teach us something. If the team does well, we need to understand, why did we do well? What caused us to do well? If we fall short, we got to work together to understand what caused that shortfall and then use that knowledge to get better. Um, it's really important, I think, particularly when you have failures, but really in every case, to have a post-project debrief and really focus on what are the lessons, not doling out punishments, but what are the lessons, and then taking that knowledge and sharing it across the team so that we all can grow. Bottom line is learning can't be an afterthought. It's got to be a continuous part of the process.
I really like that, especially that very last part. It can't just be an afterthought. And I liked what you said earlier, too, about being able to distinguish between a learning atmosphere and a high performance atmosphere. And both are good, both are necessary, but it's important for leaders to understand the difference and the distinction between the two. I love that. That was a great comment. All right. Question number 3, share one tip for effective delegation.
Yeah, I think delegation really comes down to trust and accountability. And again, kind of referring to values in my book, trust really comes from integrity, and accountability is kind of its own value. So when we talk about integrity, leaders build trust by being transparent and consistent. Transparent is you say what you mean, you share what you know as much as you can, and then you're consistent in what you say and you do so that the team knows they can rely on you regardless of what happens. And that trust is critical for the members of the team to take full ownership. They want to know that their leaders are honest and they're going to have their back. But then when we delegate, and I thought Adam O'Connor, who you had in your most recent podcast, said this really well. So I'm going to kind of repeat it a little bit, but it's really about delegating outcomes, not tasks. We tell them what we think success looks like. We explain why it matters, why their task matters, and then we trust them to find their way. And, we've got to check in, we've got to coach. We try to remove obstacles when we can, but we can't just go grab the wheel anytime it looks like something may be going wrong. So we delegate the outcomes, and that provides or that builds capability and confidence. And when people know they're being counted on, they'll step up. And when they're given that accountability, they'll step up and do their best. So um, that builds the team, and then as a leader, that gives you freedom to focus on the big picture, which really is where we should be accountable is the big picture. So we want to clarify the goal, we want to point out where the guardrails are, agree on the checkpoints, and then we got to let them own it and help them to learn and grow from whether they have success or failure.
Right. Oh, I love that. That's great information. Thanks for sharing those insights. That's fantastic. Okay. Question number 4. How can leaders effectively communicate the purpose and the vision of the team or the company, whatever the situation may be? How can we effectively communicate those things?
Well, certainly, as I said before, we've got to be transparent and consistent. So we want to make sure that we, say what we mean and then are consistent with our words and our actions. But we've got to explain why it matters. What is it that matters about the project that we're running? I talk early in the book about having the opportunity to run a project where we're designing and building the next human landing system, the next system that'll take humans to the moon, which obviously is an exciting project. And those kind of projects, it's a little easier to get the team psyched up about the mission, right? Everybody's uh, uh, really into it. But it's also important to explain how each role, how each person's activity ties to the mission. You can't just say, this is a mission, go. You want to make sure the purpose aligns with the team strategy, and then every role fits within that vision or mission. And because people want to see, how their work ties to the bigger picture, the larger whole. And then as leaders, we also need to show how our role ties into the vision as well. We've got to have skin in the game. So it's about stating clearly what the vision is, connecting it personally to the individuals and to ourselves, and then living that consistently and showing the team, this is what our vision is, and here's how we're doing.
I really like that. I'm going to be really succinct and say there's 3 parts to it. So if I heard you correctly, communicate it, and then, clearly state it, communicate it, and then live it. So that's, communicate it, connect it. That was the middle one. I'm sorry. Communicate it, connect it, and then live it. Oh, great insights, because that's really important. And I appreciate you sharing that, because that is an important part of the values. We can't just stick them on the wall. It just doesn't work that way. So
right.
Very good. All right. Question number 5, the fun question that I love to end the podcast on. Share a baseball memory or a story that you've got.
Yeah, I love baseball, so appreciate you asking it. So it's hard to choose. I've been to some league championship series games. I've been to some World Series games.
Nice.
But my favorite memory is from spring training. So my first job out of college, I lived in Jupiter, Florida, and as I was living in an apartment there, they actually built a new spring training stadium for the St. Louis Cardinals about a mile from my apartment. So this was in the late 90s, and it was when Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire were, challenging each other for the new home run title. And my dad and I had been to spring training before, but he came down and we went to some spring training games. And so the year after McGwire set the new record at 70 home runs, we went to a game, and I wanted to get McGwire's autograph, but so did everybody else in the stadium. And so it's pretty hard to get his autograph. So I actually took off my shoelaces and tied them together, and then tied them around the Sharpie that I had, and then around the ball that I had. And I dangled it over. I went like to the very end of the warning track where it's like 30 feet down. And I dangled it over with my shoelaces and had the pen and the ball down there. And he actually, got it, and he signed it. And the funny thing is, the ball fell out of the contraption, and he put it back in there, and I pulled it up. So,
Nice.
So I got McGwire's autograph. But anyway, it was one of many spring training games that my dad and I have been able to go to. So it was a lot of fun.
I have got to get out there. I'm a big Phillies fan, as the audience knows, but that's my my team of affection. And so they're down in Florida, which is a long way from Utah. But, one of these days I got to get down there and just experience spring training, because I've had other guests on the podcast that have chosen to answer this question about baseball. And they mentioned spring training, which is not something that gets a lot of attention as far as, year over year over year. But sounds like a lot of fun. So I think I need to get out there. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Get close to the players. It feels like a minor league park. I mean, many times it is.
Yeah.
And
more intimate.
Yeah, it's more intimate. That's right.
Oh, I love it. Oh, Andy, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. How can people get a hold of you?
Thanks for asking. They can go to andycrockerbooks.com. All one word, andycrockerbooks.com. That's a great way. You can find out about the book and more about me. You can also find me on LinkedIn, just Andy Crocker. Be happy to connect with folks that way.
That would be great. Thank you. And thanks so much to all of you who are joining us each week for the Team Engagement Podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe or connect somehow so that you're catching up every week on these new episodes. We appreciate it very much. Our many thanks to all of you, and have a great day. This is Sean Richards with the Team Engagement Podcast, where leaders of teams share their insights. For more ideas, go to teamengagementpodcast.com. We also invite you to follow or subscribe to our podcast wherever you may be listening or watching. Is your business thriving? Go to tbs-score.com to find out. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great day.